Also excuse our mayor, D. Collins. He's actually on city business in D.C., and so unfortunately you have me tonight running this thing. We would like to start by having an invocation by our chaplain, Bobby Doyle, and after that, Councilman Dawkins will lead us in the pledge. So would everybody stand, please?
Well, I just want you to know it's a privilege to be here and an honor. Daniel asked me to open, and appreciate all the city does. And let's go before the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you in the name of your precious Son, Jesus, Lord. We thank you for the team that you have put together for me with City, Father. We ask you to guide, direct their thoughts, give them wisdom, Father God. We're such a blessed to have a city as we do, Lord. Help us never take for granted what they do for us, but just lift them up. I pray and ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And do we have any announcements, Mr. McClure? No announcements? Do you have announcements? Okay. It's okay. That's okay.
I just have a couple announcements I'd like to make this evening. With the 4th of July coming up, I wanted to remind everyone that our transfer station located to the south of our Public Works facility will be closed on Saturday, July 4th, and that if you receive sanitation service on Friday, you need to get that poly card out there 2 days ahead of time, because our sanitation service for Friday will be on Wednesday. And then our annual 4th of July celebration in Regional Park will commence about 6 p.m. We'll have 2 bands, and then we'll have the fireworks that'll take place about 9:45. And we'll also have some food vendors for people to enjoy as well. So please join us if the opportunity avails itself to you.
Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Who reads this?
You do.
Oh, I was wondering. Okay. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that members of the City Council, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed on the consent agenda does not meet with approval of all council members or members of the audience wish to discuss a proposed item with the council, that item will be removed and heard in regular order. Is anybody?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Oh, we already did that one, aren't we?
We have an exceptionally long agenda, so we're going to be going back and forth on our iPads to get to the next item. So
Love my paper.
I'm rolling paper.
the first discussion item is a public hearing with discussion and consideration of adopting a resolution declaring all structures located at 1439 Maple Drive a public nuisance as defined in subsection 27-318 of the Municipal Code, and setting dates to demolish and remove the structure from the site. This is a public hearing. Our staff has visited this site and feels that it is a public nuisance and is detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, and has recommended to the council that demolition begin within 10 days and be completed within 30 days. This is a public hearing. Is anyone in the audience here to speak to the item pertaining to 1439 Maple Drive?
Okay, not.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item D2 is PC 1834, public hearing with discussion consideration of approval of the WF final plat for the property described as a part of the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 12 North, Range 2 West, located at 76 7601 East Reno. This is the final plat for the property that is once contained the Target located at the northwest corner of Midwest Boulevard and Reno. The proposed development contemplates 4 lots. One lot will be the site for the Winco, new Winco grocery store, and 3 outparcels along Reno Avenue. So, Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of the proposed final plat.
Is there anybody here to speak on this matter? I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
D3, discussion consideration of awarding a bid for the city's property insurance policy for FY 15-16. We handed out to you a recommendation for insurance coverage to be to travelers insurance at a rate of 28 cents per $100 value.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all those in favor, say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
D4, discussion consideration of awarding a bid for an on-site turnkey vehicle and equipment parts operation. Staff is still reviewing the proposals that we received and would request that the item be continued until July 14th council meeting.
Move to table the item.
Have a motion,
Second.
have a second, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
And we also have an addendum to the discussion items. And I'll read that addendum. This is discussion and consideration of approving and passing an ordinance amending Chapter 32 Peddlers and Solicitors of the Midwest City Code by amending Article 1 in general, Section 32-1A4 definitions, penalty, and by amending Article 3 foodstuffs by taking Section 32-60 out of reserve and entitling it food trucks, which section shall read as established in this ordinance and providing for repealer and severability. You have the ordinance as submitted by staff, and you also have an alternative proposal that Councilman McClure has presented to you as well.
Does everybody in the audience like to speak to this? Would you please come to the podium, state your name and address?
Joe Atkinson in Newalla, Oklahoma. I had a gentleman from Midwest City, Don Murphy, who's in the audience, contact me. He wanted to put a food truck in the Uptown Shopping Center. And I thought, well, that'd just be great to have some business in the Uptown Shopping Center. I started doing some research on the food truck business, and I was just astounded to find how productive they are as far as generating revenue, what they do for cities, what they do for food culture, entrepreneurship, all these different exciting things that can happen. In talking to Mr. Murphy, who's here, and in looking at the ordinance that Midwest City has, I started looking at what Oklahoma City has done, and I would just like to ask the council to consider designing an ordinance that would lower the barrier to entry into the food truck business in Midwest City, to encourage that business, because that will increase revenue at my shopping centers, and that will increase your revenues, and it will also prove markets exist for food that no one else can determine until they see the people lined up. And that's, I appreciate your consideration.
Mr. Atkinson, you heard our conversation upstairs?
Yes, sir.
And some of the proposals that, how did that seem to you? Does that seem in line?
I believe that the major parts are not having a prorated, not being able to, when you need to have a license that if you get it one day in a year, it's good for a year. But the concepts that were being discussed about making the market more free and less regulated. And the only thing I can say is from reading Oklahoma City's ordinances and watching some of the clips that I saw on the news channels, their goal was, how do you incentivize these people? And I think dollar for dollar, it's the least expensive economic development that you can come up with. So, but
Thank you.
yes, the discussions were encouraging.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to discuss?
It's a race. Glenn wins the race.
State your name and address, please.
Glenn Goldschlager, 1409 Evergreen Circle. I'm not against this, but we spent almost 2 years on the sign ordinance. We spent a year raising the bulk trash pickup on Wednesday for a year, and we put together a committee to do it. I'm not technically against this, but I've been coming to meetings for quite a long time, and I found out the history of the city council and really state and federal government both, is that anytime you rush something through, you normally don't end up with a good product at the end. I have nothing against this. I think it should be done. I agree with the gentleman behind me that this would probably be good for Midwest City. I would just as soon we put this off, let's do a little more research. Let's think about this, and let's bring this out right. Upstairs we were talking about, well, let's do this, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it. And if this don't work, well, we'll change it. I'd like to get a good product to start with that everybody understands, and then let's move forward with it. But I'm not against this. I'm just against doing this tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. You state your name and address, please.
My name is Don Murphy. I live at 3400 Mockingbird Lane. And I'm the guy that really started this whole process. But it's somewhat of a selfish process on my part because I do own a food truck, and I would like to operate in Midwest City. The original ordinance that was proposed did not make things more friendly for us. Mr. McClure's ordinance is much better, in my opinion. It makes Midwest City more friendly. We may have to look at it a little bit longer and go along more with Oklahoma City's guidelines. You know, they have it worked out real well for us, and you know, it's very simple to do what they've done. But other than that, unless anybody has a question for me.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I visited with Oklahoma City on the phone today, and I tried to get as much as I could of theirs into that one. What do you not see in there that from Oklahoma City that you would prefer to be located in that?
Well, the biggest thing would be the limitation of days. I know upstairs the original was 90 days, and then there's some more discussion about extending that time frame. Oklahoma City does not limit us to accumulative days. We can set up anytime we want and as much as we want, as long as you have the correct license, which costs $250. They have a 3-stage licensing tier, and the one that most people, or at least myself, I bought the 250 one because it's unlimited events. Yeah. A couple of the other things that were addressed upstairs is the collection of sales tax. It's very simple, and I do it on my own. Break out the amount of sales for different locations. Oklahoma City, El Reno, you can put a city code in and a county code in on your sales tax report, and it breaks it out for them. One of the other concerns from upstairs was brick and mortar restaurants. I've been operating mine for 4 years. I've never parked next to a restaurant. I don't think I would ever park next to a restaurant unless that restaurant invited me. Now, last night I was in Bricktown, and I was at a bar, a place called Skinny Slim's, right, a little bitty tiny place. We had a tremendous turnout. Even people from the apartments 2 blocks north of us smelled the smoke from my smoker, and they came down to see what was going on. They ate with us, and they drank beer at the bar. You know, but all we can do is bring more business to Midwest City. It's not going to hurt the brick and mortar restaurants. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes, sir.
just, and I know enough about this to be dangerous, but just a couple questions.
Okay.
So the type of license that you have, I've heard there's like 1, 2, and 3, and 2 is kind of the middle, the one that allows you to park in the street right away and sell your product. Is that the one that you have?
Technically, yes, sir. They've got a 3-tiered license. A $100 license is just your basic license. $150 license gives you so many special event days. And then the $250 license is unlimited special events, and essentially you can park anywhere you want to in Oklahoma City. Why anyone would ever want to park on a public right-of-way, unless it's been blocked off like 8th and H or Hurd and Hurd, I don't know. You know, I myself would never park on a public right-of-way because that would be a traffic problem.
Okay, so you don't park, for instance, you wouldn't go up to someplace like 23rd Street and park in a parking space and operate out of that?
No,
And that-
sir.
And I'm really trying to get to, so where is it that you go to sell your product? Are you on private property?
Yes, sir. The majority of the time what I do lately, unless it's a special event or a private party, something like that, I work in an office complex. For instance, tomorrow I'll be at the Oklahoma City Juvenile Bureau, right behind the Chesapeake complex. I'll be parked in their parking lot.
And do they give you authority and
Yes, sir.
approval to do that?
Yes, sir. They've invited me. I'm booked once a week with them through October, and the only reason we cut it off in October was I said, we'll see what's going to happen during the winter months. I normally operate during the winter months. As I said last night, I was at Bricktown at Skinny Slim's. They contacted me. Social media is great for us. People contact me off Twitter and Facebook. I do the Perimeter Center out at Northwest 43rd in Tulsa, park in their parking lot, pull from several office buildings around there.
So do you park in residential parking lots at all?
No, sir.
So you're
sir.
you're in office or commercial
Absolutely.
zoning?
Absolutely.
And you
the
get-
closest thing to that would have been like last Saturday. I did a vintage treasure sale at 23rd and I believe it's Drexel. And I was parked in a church parking lot with their permission. The lady that was putting on the sale was having a backyard sale for her antique store right next to it. You know, but no, you don't just pull in. Now, I have seen that in Oklahoma City. I have seen that in front of churches on Sunday morning, where someone had their trailer parked in front of a church waiting for the people to get out from church. But I'm sure they had it with their permission, you know. But personally, I wouldn't do that. Just like I wouldn't pull in next to Applebee's and park my trailer.
So have you ever done anything in residential area? And I mean, have you say you had special events or you cater?
Only private parties, sir.
Private parties?
Yeah.
Okay.
For instance, I
Okay.
did one in Yukon last year where I was pulled into the man's driveway, but only for private parties. Now, as I said, I live at 3400 Mockingbird Lane, and my trailer is parked there most of the time unless I'm out using it. And I have people come by and say, "Where do you sell your barbecue?" And I tell them where I'm going to be. But right now, I've had no sales in Midwest City. I was contacted by the state tax commission several months ago saying I owed the city several $100s in sales tax, and I contacted them and said, I have no sales. It's all been in Canadian County, you know, so. But I'd love to be paying y'all sales tax.
So, Councilman McClure, was your, unfortunately, I didn't get a copy of your latest draft, and I'm not going to try to read it right now, but did you envision that the food truck vendors would be restricted to commercial areas and
I-
not be allowed in residential areas?
That was my intention. I did not write it. If we accept my amendment, I will then make an amendment to the amendment to add residential, because I did not foresee it in residential neighborhoods.
Well, here again, the only time I would ever be in a residential area is if it was a private party. Now, July 4th, I'll be in Mustang for a block party where it's a small cul-de-sac community that they're actually going to block off the street with Mustang's permission and all. And in that case, I'll be in a residential area. But that would be the only instance would be for a private party, not just for trying to do business.
Well, everybody, all cities do things differently. So, I mean, a church is going to be in a residential district in Midwest City.
Right.
So, I'm just saying that you couldn't necessarily translate what you do in Oklahoma City to what you could do in Midwest City. And that's part of the reason why I think staff put in a requirement for a permit so that there would be some sense of knowing that, one, that you had authority to be where you were at, and that you were located in an appropriate zoning district. So,
Well,
I mean,
here
that's
again-
some of the reasons behind it.
It gets back to being a little bit selfish, I guess, but technically, right now, under the existing ordinance, it would cost me, on an annual basis, $1,050 to operate in Midwest City. Under the proposed ordinance, with the $10 a day permit for 90 days, that would actually end up costing me, if I did the whole 90 days, it would end up costing me $1,150.
Yeah, but the difference is that you would only be able to operate 14 days under the old ordinance, correct? Two special events, which can be 7 days long, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so 14 days versus 90 days as suggested by staff. So I would hope that you make up the difference by having another 75 days worth of time, so.
I don't mean to be argumentative at all about this, and hopefully I'm not, but the day-to-day operation of a food truck or food trailer is totally different from a special event operation. You know, I make my living, this is the only way I make my living, is operating my food truck. By going to the office complexes, Harley-Davidson dealerships, you know, various commercial operations that request me to come out there with my truck. So the special events is when you do something like the Jones Townwide Festival or your Made in Oklahoma Festival that you had a while back. You know, that should be totally separate than the day-to-day operation of a food truck.
So do you pretty much know where you're gonna be a week from now, a month from now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have a calendar. Now things change. I got a call this afternoon. They needed a food truck up at Lazy E and wanted me to bring mine up there. And I told them, hey, I got a town council meeting to go to. You know, but things like that change from time to time. Through the Oklahoma Independent Food Truck Operators Association, or Oklahoma Independent Food Truck Association, they have a website, and there's several people that they're in contact with all the time. So when a truck has a problem and can't make a daily event, they'll contact me or another person and see if we can fill in for them. You know, there's, here again, Twitter, they contact me all the time, various people. Facebook, there's actually an app on the iPhones for Truck at OKC that shows where each truck that is subscribed to it is going to be that day. And people follow us. You know, people follow me from the Perimeter Center to the Juvenile Center to, you know, Harley-Davidson World. They come out because they like our food.
Just one last question. Is your concern about the $10 permit per day fee? Is that a major concern for you?
Well, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, I'm not aware of any other city that charges that. Now, you know, here again, a $250 license for Oklahoma City, a $250 license for the state. In my particular instance, my food handler certificate will come up for renewal next year. That's an additional fee. My liability insurance, you know, you can, $250 and $10 to death. And I realize that any business has the same problems, except it seems like we have to have, we're mobile, so we have more of the licensing problems. That's getting back to being the selfish situation, you know. But I do have some people here from the Oklahoma Independent Food Truck Operators that I believe they want to speak too, so they may be a whole lot better able to answer your questions than I can.
Okay, well, why don't you have them come down?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you please state your name and address, please?
Lalo Hernandez, 612 Wicked Place. Good evening, and thank
Is
you
that-
for having us.
What town is that in? Excuse me.
Oklahoma City.
Okay.
I am the president of the Oklahoma Independent Food Truck Association. We've been in existence for almost a year. And actually, my first job was at Liberty Fest, July 4th, 2013. And the reason I picked that day was because it was the birthday of our country, so it was specific. So I had a great time there 2 years ago and was asked to come back again this year, but unfortunately I'm taking off to the lake. We have currently almost 50 food trucks in our association, and we have increased revenue and taxes to Oklahoma City by 30% to our local business owners. For example, the Herd on Herd event that happens third Saturday of the month in Edmond, they consulted with us last year, and we gave them some advice on how to do that, and now it's up to about 13,000 people. H&A has increased to about 35,000 people. Again, we were instrumental with doing that this year. The newest thing that we helped was last year was Blue Garden, and then the new one at Farmers Market, the Delmar Gardens, we were, actually I have an engineering kind of background, so I helped them with design, and then our association has helped them with city ordinances, laws, and stuff like that. Actually, when the City of Oklahoma City and the Health Department contacted us last year, they wanted us to help them push through that $250 a year license. They sought us, and we were glad to come to City Council. I know the Mayor Cornett's behind us, and Meg Salyer, councilwoman's, loves the food trucks. And it was the same way. Everybody was kind of a little standoff about food trucks until they got some of the feedback from the owners. Herd on Herd example, they have downtown Edmond, they keep their shops open after 6 o'clock, and all their owners come out, and restaurant owners and shops, and say that they have never seen business like that. Once a month, they wish we could come back more than once a month on that Saturday. We also
That's
do,
at a bank parking lot, isn't it?
and it's a street.
Is it a street?
It's downtown street,
Okay.
And now it was one street, which was about 300 feet long. Now it's turned to like an L, and now they're talking about extending it further south on Broadway because of the success that they have. Now they have pop-up shops where people can come and buy clothes. They can buy all kinds of things. So it's just expanding for businesses. And it also brings the community out. And that was our main focus. One of our main focuses was bring the community out. And it's brought light to the dark corners of our cities that we've been involved with. And it creates an atmosphere for business owners and future business. Some of our food trucks want to get into restaurants, brick and mortars. So that's kind of a bridging gap between our food trucks and the people who have properties to lease. We also, we work together in structuring some of the laws and help folks understand where we come from and what we do as a organization and as a food truck operator. A lot of people kind of don't really understand the day-to-day, and they think, like, first of all, Oklahoma City was kind of a little standoffish about food trucks and what they look like and what they represent. Well, in our association, we have pretty good guidelines on what they look like and what they presented. We keep up with the code. The health departments actually told us that we save them on hourly employees to come out for these festivals. They used to be $29 every event. And once we got that 250 passed, it's unlimited. They don't have to come and inspect. They have a history of the trucks. So that saves them on hours, on employees to come out every festival or every time the truck's set up. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
I have two.
Yes, sir.
I did not know that many people went out to Herd on Herd. I haven't been up there yet.
Mhm.
Do you think if we go this route and we have food trucks here, that people will come from outside Midwest City to come here to go to these food trucks that you all represent?
Like H on 8th is a huge event, and you get people from all surrounding Metroplex. Like he said, most of the trucks have followers. In Edmond, there's people from downtown Oklahoma City, Yukon, Mustang, Midwest City, and they come out to that event. Not only do they buy food from us, and we pay the taxes to Edmond, but they go to the shops. They stay open until 10 o'clock at night. Othello's, the restaurant there, sells out, and the shops, like I said, they stay open. So you can, the atmosphere is amazing. So you get it on TV. I've been on Fox and Channel 4 and promoting these events, but you get people from all over. So my suggestion is you got an event like Liberty, right? So everybody's coming from different parts, not just Midwest City, and is spending money. And not just at the food truck. You got people that are going to stop and get gas. You got people going to stop and, do this and do that in your city. And those are tax dollars that the food trucks will bring to those events.
See, I'll give you an example. We were down at H&A, the last one. We did the food trucks, but then we ended up eating at 1492 restaurant.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yep.
Except for, but but that's an event. That's not
Mhm.
just a single food truck in a parking lot.
Sure.
That's an event and so that's not what we're talking about tonight. That's not the
No,
ordinance.
but
where
90% of
we've
my
drafted.
business in my food truck
Right,
is corporate.
right, is big events. And
No, it's not big events. My personal.
Oh, okay.
90% of my
your
business
personal-
is
right.
hospitals, it's grand openings, it's doctors, it's, hey, I'm having a grand opening for my store, and I'd like to promote it. Can I have your truck? And
Right,
I
but
get,
what you were talking about earlier about people coming from all over.
Right, in
was
that
a
instance,
food
yes.
court event.
right.
Okay, not just a single.
Well,
don't
you'd be
have people
surprised.
coming
You-
from Edmond when
you-
you're.
you'd
when
be
you're
surprised.
promoted.
I had people, I went out to McLeod, and I had people from Oklahoma City, about 200-300 people come out and eat the food from when I was in McLeod at a fireworks show. And it was a private event, and I thought, where are you from? And they said, we saw it on a truck, it happened. We wanted to get out to eat dinner, and there was a line of people, and I could not believe it. I refused to believe that they came all the way, but they did,
At a
it's just
private event?
private event.
well, I've seen another deal where I've seen food trucks really popular, and that will be at church. There'll be a church, and they'll go, hey, on Sunday night, we're gonna have food trucks at our church.
Mhm.
I mean,
Well, today for lunch, I was at Crossings Community Church. They have an international convention today and tomorrow. Sometimes the churches will call and say, we want to bring the state fair to the church and more. So they didn't want their church folks to go out to the fair, so they brought 2-3 trucks right outside after service on their parking lot. They set out tables and chairs, very nice. So, but it's also great for the business owners that are looking to promote their business and how to
see,
bring in.
and like we have, for example, this Thursday night concerts in the park
Mhm.
down here, which I've always just had this vision of a dozen food trucks there on a Thursday night. I mean,
And we try to educate the event coordinators. 'Cause I've dealt with the lady from Midwest City. I think her name is Nicole. And we try to tell them, how many people do you have or do you expect? You don't need 15 trucks. You don't need 10. We try to minimize it so then it looks aesthetically well for the event, but it also is profitable to each truck and not where it's, Midwest City is not that good because it doesn't have that many people or this or that. We don't want to bring that to that event because that's not their fault. So we're slowly but surely getting out our name and what we can do for each cities in the area. As a matter of fact, some of the cities in the state, like Binger, or I was in Hobart, Oklahoma, and they're talking about, what would it be, like the city manager, what would it take for us to come out and do some event? We can't be coming to the city. So I went to Guthrie last year and helped them do a street festival, and there was about 2,000-3,000 people. They came out, and there was music, and the atmosphere was a great atmosphere. Everybody came out, the kids, grandparents, and it was a great showing of the city. So we try to do that as well. But we make it easy. We try to encourage the cities to make it food truck friendly, where it's easy to do business. So then all the popular trucks that are out in the city can come to your city, and then the people get excited, and it brings community. It does, and it's wonderful to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to propose that we accept this version as amended, and Kathy, I've written on there an amendment to prohibit food truck sales on residential right-of-way, so I can hand you this copy if need be.
Just residential right-of-way, not all right-of-way? So it could be on a private lot, but not on the right-of-way.
Do you,
Oh, no, Kathy, so you're saying that would allow it to be on a residential lot, so we should probably put to prohibit in residential areas? Is that where you're going with that?
Well, I mean, this gentleman says, you know, they go to private parties, so if you live on a large lot,
Oh, yeah, that's different then. So right away then.
Well, right away, I don't know if I'd try to.
I can just cut that all together.
well, at this point, it's prohibited in all public rights of way.
Oh, yeah, it is already.
can we,
So we're golden.
can we possibly table this and look at everything and come back and know more about what we,
Do you have any specific questions about the item?
well, some things such as,
So I could just,
he's talking about fees and such, and there's a lot of other things, you know.
in this version that I am presenting you with, it would match the Oklahoma City version, which would be just the $250.
And then you talk about tiers, different tiers and such.
I don't have that in this
Well,
version.
I mean, I'm just trying to see, is something
Seems
we
like
need
we
to,
have two areas, seems like we have two areas.
do we, something need to really, we
Hold on
need to
just a
take
second.
another look at to make it
Okay, hold on just a
everything.
second.
Okay.
Seems like we have two areas. Limitation of days needs to be addressed, and locations. Those seem to be the two things that we're still looking at here.
Well, correct.
Right. So we're going to increase the limitation on days. Is that correct, to what?
In this version that I am presenting to you, I don't have any limitation on days.
No limitation of days?
I do
I
not.
thought we said 150 or something like that.
I had listed that in there. I removed it in this draft. Just because I think if we can,
Okay, do we not want, we have it right now, commercial, is that right?
Yes, the city would review zoning, and it would be commercial districts and above.
Versus, is that a problem, just being commercial districts?
For example, different subdivisions will call food trucks to have,
Like a block party type
yes,
thing?
yes. And I find that if you limit a lot of it, and I know it's a new step for Midwest City, but we have found in the last 2 years have been very successful with minimal restrictions. Like I said, the 250 is a yearly license for unlimited use of the public streets.
But
So
we
could you
can't do
set up in
anything about
someone's
that tonight.
driveway? Like, could you come and set up on, theoretically, in someone's
Theoretically,
driveway?
yes, yes,
So my driveway.
because,
But we can't do anything about it tonight.
Because it's
that's
private.
in the zoning ordinance,
Right.
and that's gonna have to go through planning commission, and that's gonna have to have a public hearing.
And just to let you
everything
know,
else.
like-
So what you're saying is how the current zoning ordinance reads, and we can't do anything about that tonight.
those are few and far between. I know that the Oak Tree Country Club had called me and do a block party at Oak Tree. And, it's one of those things you come and set up for 2 hours and you leave, but never in a driveway. It's usually a block party, but those are few and far between, but it's usually the unlimited, the free reign to come to your city. And it's 99% by invitation by the property owner who's saying, I have requested your services to come to on our property and promote my new business, my air conditioning business, and we're gonna do free, lunch, whatever. So. And those tiers that you're talking about, It is a tiered for certain events where we wanted to have an unlimited license. And instead of having one that has only 6, after 6, you're still required to pay the rest of the $250. So it actually comes out more money. They try to keep it simple, and that's what we try to give it to the city is keep it simple, do a $250 license, and we'll push it on our association. Most of our trucks have the $250 license, and the city's like really excited about how we push that, and not the small one. It's the unlimited, and as an association, that's what we push for.
To hopefully address your issue, Councilwoman, these are the folks that I want to come, and they're
Yes.
good with $250, and it seems to be like that would work
I
with them.
I know, and I am not against it. I just so much technicalities that everyone is questioning about, questions. This is something new that's been established, and I think, you know, we need to really look at the whole picture and get, you know, I just saw your proposal tonight, and I really had not had a chance to compare it to the other because I didn't have it. But I'm not against the food trucks. I just have a lot of other concerns, you know, some of the things brought up, you know, location, this and that, and just et cetera, just so many other questions.
That's what we came here, is to
And
help. So if there's anything that we can do after today, we'd be glad and more than happy
Leave us a
to.
card, right, that we
Yes,
can
ma'am.
contact you.
Yep.
And I think we need to really look at, you know, how we're gonna do this ordinance, how we go about doing everything, and not just jump out and do it. And then we have to come back and keep revisiting, amending and adding, and
What are-
you know, we'll still be at that same point. So
What-
isn't it feasible just to you know, try to get it together? Because we all want this. We think it's a good idea, but it's just how we go about doing it.
Well, what are the specific questions you have? And this is really straightforward. This is $250. You do business in town. You don't do it in residential right away. I mean,
As
it's
she
real.
said, you
It's
know,
really straightforward.
Is there an ordinance we have to look at? And
Not to do this. This is what we have, and this would totally work. Now, later on, Billy's coming back with the food court concepts and those, and we're going to see those, but that's a whole different deal than the individual solo food truck vendor.
Okay, Kathy, how long, if you wanted to change the definition of a zoning classification that would permit food trucks to, say, go into church parking lots or school parking lots, things like that, what is that process?
The process is that it has to go to the planning commission first, and we are too late for the July planning commission, so it would go,
It's September. We're too late for August.
because we have to
Right.
publish notice, and so it would be August, the first Tuesday in August, and then it would come to
September.
you,
September.
I'm sorry, in
It would be you wouldn't have an ordinance in effect until the end of October.
Okay, because I agree that I like the idea and the concept, but whether this gets passed tonight or in 2 weeks or whenever, I think that we definitely need to look at that, but we ought to include zoning for schools and churches and parks and city.
Well, what we would do is we would create a food truck classification, but,
Would that
but
also,
But the only real problem with that is I'm not sure that this ordinance, I think, makes that moot. Because if we are not issuing a per-day permit, then we have no means of checking the zoning or making sure.
so you're saying a food truck could go anywhere?
We would be issuing, as I understand, looking at this, and Councilman McClure helped me out here, we would still be issuing a permit. There would just not be a fee associated with it.
You'd pay your $250 license fee, and the requirements for the permit are still in there, almost exactly as was provided originally.
Yeah, you have to have the address where they're going to.
They have to have all this, essentially almost everything that we had originally proposed.
Right.
So
Just
yeah, they
not
will
the
be getting
fee.
a permit
Just not
without
the
the
fee.
separate fee, correct.
So there will still be an obligation on the part of the food truck vendor or food truck operator to come up and get a permit. And I don't know, I mean, that's different than how you
Would
all
that be
operate.
per event or
It'd be per
Yeah.
location.
per location?
But the problem with it is
Yeah.
that he's removed the requirement that the food truck remain confined to the premises for which the permit has been issued. So there's two sentences here that indicate that if we issue a permit for a certain location, the food truck operator has to stay there. That's been removed. The requirement that the food truck operator remain on the premises for which the permit has been issued has been removed, so theoretically, the food truck operator could go anywhere.
Okay.
Oh my, yeah, no, 3 should be in there. 3 is, yeah.
Oh, okay, so that
3 should be in there. I struck too far. I
And see,
apologize.
and that's where
Okay.
we differ, I think. The 250 is that permit for the year for the location. So it
No,
wouldn't,
this would be $250 license.
right.
And if you have a permission to do business at one location, you come and you tell the city, we say, okay, we give you the permit. If you have a different location, that license covers whatever locations you have. We just want to make sure you have permission of the landowner in my version. I wouldn't want you to show them on people's property. So when you come in, I know that you have permission because you show me documentation, then I would grant you a permit.
So does that mean that a food truck can go anywhere?
Not, I don't think, not according to that.
No, it have to be commercial.
It's gotta be commercial, and it's gotta be on a piece of property where they have the consent to
of the
be there.
landowner.
Because, okay, so this food court classification.
Now, that's a different.
That's a different-
I understand that's a
Okay.
different thing, and we're talking down the road.
Okay.
But what is it that you envision that would encompass? Any place where you have the landowner's permission?
On a
Well, that
food court?
would depend on if it's a court or an event,
I-
because
I-
an
yeah,
event is
I-
different from a court.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, oh boy, and I'm, Kelly,
So,
Mr.
school
Kelly,
parking-
you're,
Court would be
parking-
permanent.
School parking lots, church parking lots,
Doesn't
That'd be
matter
an
the
event.
location, it's not the
That'd be
location.
a food court
it's-
event.
that would be
A
an
food
event?
court would have
So-
facilities like,
So
like
neighborhood
restrooms.
association could have an event?
That would be an event. There's a
Right,
court
that's-
and an event.
Right, so a neighborhood association could have an event?
Yes, that may be held in like a
Like
a
Oakwood
special
East.
event, like in the right of
No.
way, like H&H would be.
Okay, no.
Then the food
It
court,
doesn't- No, the type of event doesn't, he's talking about residential property is the key. He's saying if you have an event or you have a court, it can be held on residential property, is what he's saying.
I'm asking.
That's
Well,
outside the
I'm-
scope
we
of
haven't
this.
laid all
I
that
think
It
out.
might be outside the
I'm
scope
just-
of this, but you know, if we have all these questions, I agree with Christine.
We need
that-
to,
That there's,
Joe, what's
I
the-
understand
Table
that what you're
and move
proposing
on.
is clear and
And
straightforward.
we
but
all want
We have to know
this.
what road we're going down before
And-
we can figure this out. I don't think anybody disagrees with this.
and would we like to include merchandise on this, in this?
I
as well?
think,
And that's not in here right now?
No,
It's
no,
just
it's
food.
food.
Why can't we just wait 2 weeks and clean it up?
Joe?
Because we're not
Yes.
waiting 2 weeks, we'd be waiting 3 weeks, but then we'd be waiting the 30 days, so we couldn't do any business this year. I'd rather
Well,
get
he
going.
said-
No, it's not this year. You talk about that.
This summer, that's summer.
Yeah, because
I meant this
summer
summer.
is not the only, they operate year round. They
but
operate year
she
round.
already said with the ordinance, it would be in October before anything could
Well,
take
that's on the
place with the
zoning
ordinance.
part of
The
it,
zone-
not,
okay.
not for this. This
Okay,
would be
okay, time out. We've had enough.
45 days.
I'm gonna let Joe have a few words here, and then we're gonna conclude this. Okay,
I
Joe?
would ask the council to table this for further discussion and consider the concept that you grant a permit 1 fee with no daily fee, but you exclude the property. What Oklahoma City did, and I know every city's different, but what Oklahoma City did in their ordinances, they said,
Yeah.
you can do this anywhere except here.
Yeah.
And they have specific areas that you can hold back. But I would encourage you to consider it and have something that everybody agrees with, and it'll take some time to read it, because everybody can read it different,
But under that, it would still only, right now, this would still only apply to commercial property?
Correct.
I just
Yes.
hope it applies to the Uptown Shopping Center.
The truth comes out.
Well, I'll make a motion that we table this discussion,
Just for
on
further
D1
consideration.
for further discussion and
To the next
Just
council
table.
meeting, next council meeting.
at the next council meeting.
Okay. We got a motion to have a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Is that, did you
No,
vote?
that was a nay.
Okay.
There was an aye, and I believe I heard a whisper of an
Okay,
aye.
okay.
Okay.
Motion passes, okay. This has been tabled to our next council meeting, which is What is
The
next?
14th of July.
14th of July. And moving on.
New business.
All right, new business and public discussion. Is there any new?
business or public discussion?
We've got a couple right there.
Ma'am, would you state your name and address, please?
Vicki Johnson, 2000 North St. Luke Avenue. I have two items I'd like to bring up. The first one is the fireworks. We're supposed to have a band in Midwest City. Apparently, it's not being enforced out where we are. And veterans, military people that has definitely been in conflict areas, when they're not expecting something out of the clear blue sky, such as the morning, afternoon, and they hear something, it upsets them. And people with dementia and Alzheimer's, it causes problems. And I just like to have the public reminded there is a band. Because I don't think a lot of people know or care. The other subject I'd like to bring up is the sanitation, extra sanitations that was $35, that you have increased to $55 for, I believe it's 30 minutes. Some people cannot afford that. And therefore, if they can't make it to the landfill to deposit their stuff, they dump it along the road over there by the mini football fields or whippoorwill area. Whippoorwill area. And that causes problems for those folks in that area. So there could be an exception made to certain people with their salaries and so forth, to where it won't be 55, but possibly be less. And I'd just like to bring up those two for y'all's considerations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for consideration.
I would like to say that she talked with me one day this week, and I believe she felt like we need to, the media needs to have our media, for us, getting the word out, banned against fireworks. Is that what you mentioned to me?
Just
about getting the
remind
word
people
out
whether that there is a band and why there is a band, and to please use their fireworks in areas that's approved.
This is new business.
We'll get our fire chief on that tomorrow morning, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Anything, anybody else for discussion? Yes, sir?
Flag at the golf course. Mr. Sullivan is gone.
Yes, would you state your name and address, please?
Andy Cornelius at 9112 Oak Hollow Drive. And this is,
Right behind you.
looking for him here. This is Brian Bearfield. State your address, Brian, I guess.
Larkin Lane, Midwest City.
Well, I won't take long, and I've got something written, so I won't ad lib. And I'll just kind of read my notes and share it as we go. We're both with the Midwest City Veterans Memorial Committee, and we do appreciate all of y'all have done on that. We couldn't have built that without your approval and the help from the hospital authority and all, and I want to thank you again for that. And also I want to thank you for the flag at John Conrad Golf Course, where I mentioned it back in April, and it's flying high now after the last, 2 weeks or something like that. So we got a flag at the golf course now, and then what I am here for tonight, mainly, I wanted to thank you all again for that. But I love to hear Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA, especially the words, I'm proud to be an American. I know we all are. We love to see Old Glory waving in the breeze, which brings me to the point of why I'm here tonight. A great complex at 29th called the Town Center Plaza. I believe I'm correct on that. Isn't that the name of it? Town Center Plaza. It's wonderful. It's a great shopping area, a lot of good restaurants. I've been in most of them. You can tell by looking at me in the restaurants. But we must receive a large percentage of sales tax revenue from Tinker employees and their families and Air Force personnel being right across the street from them. As you enter the main entrance off 29th into the central, what we call Central Park, Brian and I have walked that area quite a bit and would like to recommend that we need a flag in that park. I've been around every inch of that entire Town Center Plaza shopping center, and there's not one flag except at Chick-fil-A.
And the Welcome Center across the street.
But that's across the street, but what I'm talking about is the Town Center Plaza itself. And with Tinker and all the military presence we have, I would like to ask you to consider placing the flag in that Central Park area, kind of toward 29th. Brian and I had a recommendation, if you are interested, where to put it, but that's up to you all. But I would, that's pretty well what I was going to say. And to make it short, please consider this request for our American flag to proudly wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I think we can all say, I'm proud to be an American. And I'm proud of our council, the way you all opened with prayer and the flag salute. That's grassroots America. And you all do a good job of that. And we pray for all of you in authority every day.
Thank you.
But that's our request. And
Where's your suggestion for putting it?
well, I don't have a map, but how would you describe it, Brian?
On the south side of the
Park?
there's a turnaround.
Right.
And then there's a sidewalk that bisects that area. Between that turnaround and that sidewalk that bisects that area, it's because we have a lot of events down there, and we don't want to block the areas that the stage would be set up or booths or anything else.
So it's on the south side opposite of where the clock is?
Yeah, where the fountains and clock and the
But it'd
statue
south
would be
side.
on that
Okay.
south side of the park area there. It's what we would suggest. It's up to you all, but I'd sure love to see a flag flying there, and that's something I guess has been overlooked.
Can the mayor sign an executive order right now?
This is new business, can't do that. But,
We appreciate your
I got the last flag for the deal.
My wife bought me some suspenders in Branson and told me to wear them tonight, so.
I'm just wondering, have you got 11 other locations, or,
Well-
you know, it's cheaper by the dozen if you just give them to me all
I'll get
one
with
time.
you next time.
Get one flag and come back. Thank you. Yeah, have another?
But I would like to point out,
Thank you. You have another?
with y'all setting the example of having that flag there, I would like to work on Lowe's and Penny's and all those large companies in there. There's no reason that the larger ones couldn't have a flagpole out front too. And being the kind of city we are, it would be very appropriate. And thank you for all the flags around town leading up to July 4th and Flag Day. And I love it. I mean, that's great. Well, thank you for your time, and
Thank you for your suggestions.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Bless you.
Any other items for public discussion? Do we have a quick session? No. Okay. Okay.
Move to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to the municipal authority. I'd like to call to order the municipal authority. These items are consent agenda. These items are placed on consent agenda so that trustees of the Midwest City Municipal Authority, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any item proposed on the consent agenda does not meet with approval of all trustees or members of the audience wish to discuss a proposed item with the trustees, that item will be removed and heard in regular order. Do I hear?
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to have a second. Have a motion second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any new business for public discussion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
No,
we have an executive
well,
session.
we have an executive session, but it will not be necessary.
Okay, so now we can. get
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Now we're going into somewhere down here.
Hospital Authority.
I know, but I gotta get there, you know. I'm old, I run slowly. See, you put too many pages in this stuff, you know. Okay, here we go. I'm there. Almost there. Here we
I
go.
think you don't have to read the consent agenda thing again.
Okay, I'd like to call the order the Midwest City Hospital Authority. Consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are no discussion items?
We have,
Oh, yes,
Oh.
we do.
right, we have an executive session. This would be discussion, consideration of one entering into executive session as allowed under 25 OS Section 307C10 to confer on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or creation of a proposal to entice a business to remain or to locate within the city, and two, in open session authorizing action as appropriate based upon the discussion in executive session.
Entertain a motion.
So approved. I'm sorry. So moved.
Second.
A motion second, going to executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll be going to executive session. Will we be coming back? And we will be coming back here as soon as that executive session is over. So if you'll excuse us for a few minutes, I hope.